From starting the year by not even making the cut and to ending it as the best player in the world, 2022 was proof that McIlroy is built different. But what's his recipe for this success? Well, there are quite a few ingredients, starting with his mindset. You are what you eat is outdated now. Rory McIlroy believes you are what you think. Yup, the Northern Irishman believes success is possible only if you go into the challenge with a winning mindset. According to McIlroy, if you want to get somewhere, you have to be able to imagine yourself there before you've even started the journey. You know, the can-do attitude. In fact, he wants you to take it a step further. Make it a will-do attitude.
The reason I didn't play very well this week, but yeah, it's felt like a long 4 weeks.
What are you most frustrated with, Rory?
The current world number one calls it a two-part process. First, you picture yourself at the place you want to be, and then you have to believe with all your heart that you'll get there. Only last year we saw him put this into practice. His 2022 had a wavering start. He missed the cut for the Valero Texas Open, but with his determination and positive mindset, he got what he wanted, the number one spot.
To do well on both sides of the pond, you have to play.
But here's what's interesting. McIlroy wasn't always like this. The winner mindset is something he had to learn along the way, and he realized that mindset must go hand in hand with another very important quality a sportsman must have, a strong body language. If you remember the early days of his career, you might know where this is going. The 2011 Masters heartbreak.
Take two there. Felt like that was, I picked up at least a shot and a half on the field.
Rory was out there leading the game and making it look easy until the 10th hole. That's when his game came crashing. That heartbreaking loss was what made McIlroy look into his mindset. He said he looked back at all the footage of that game and realized something interesting about himself. He found himself looking defeated even when playing well and winning. He was walking around with his head held low and his shoulders rounded. This was when McIlroy said he realized that the way one carries oneself has a lot to do with success.
For that 65.
Yeah, par putt on 16 was huge. Par putt on 13 was big as well.
And well, after that, he's never looked back. Rory is one of the most enthusiastic and energetic golfers on any field he's playing on. So if you want success, the best golfer in the world wants you to think like a leader, but also look like a leader. And you know what a good leader does? Always take responsibility. The four-time major champion is flying high in the golfing world, but you know what got him here? His awareness of himself as a player.
Felt like I let Lanto back into it a little bit on the front nine, but then
What this means is throughout his career, even at his highs, he's always seen himself as a player first and a star second. And what does that do for him? It gives him the courage to look at his past mistakes and learn from them. Take the 2011 Masters I just talked about. Instead of blaming his defeat on anyone or anything, his first instinct was to see what he did wrong. Who does that?
Continue that into this afternoon.
I know you're not going to know how far back you are right now, but what's your mentality kind of going into the...
McIlroy's key to success is the fact that he focuses on himself. In fact, it might be the very reason he is where he is today. The Northern Irishman has seen many highs and lows, but he calls that one 2011 round at Augusta National the most important one in his career. This is because it taught him the importance of courage and made him competitive. And you know he meant business.
Day or... Sorry. I'm going to say the same thing.
Because only 2 months later, he showed up at the US Open with unquestionable confidence and won the major. So yeah, there's another major point in his success story. Take credit for the highs, but also take responsibility for the lows. That is how he knows what he's made of. He knows where he's strong and where he needs to improve. Being the top-ranked golfer in the world doesn't mean Rory doesn't have weaknesses. In fact, he's always had some pretty well-known weaknesses in his golf.
To give them a little wave and apologize, but the longer I stood over that tee shot, the more...
The only reason his game flaws haven't hindered his success is that he knows exactly what they are. But here's the catch. He also knows his strengths just as well. Look, McIlroy is a master of his craft, but putting has always given him a hard time compared to the rest of his game. Before he'd won his first major, his critics doubted he'd go far because of his weak putting. Then there's also wedge play, another thing he isn't perfect at. But instead of letting those areas haunt the rest of his game, he makes use of the areas he's strong in. He's still one of the longest hitters out there. That, combined with his tendency to take risks and make quick decisions, is what makes him stand out. That's not it, though.
How proud are you of the continuation of that good form you showed over the summer?
Yeah, it's been
Being aware of his weak areas is the reason he gained his form in 2022. As his former critic Paul McGinley also noted, he's drastically improved the errors of his game. So there, he has his skills calculated and knows what he can threaten his opponents with and where he needs work. That is exactly what gives him the confidence he needs to be a champion.
In the meeting last night, what can you share with us in terms of what came out of it?
He never doubts himself. Just because he knows his weaknesses doesn't mean he has doubts about his ability. The crazy part is he believes in his skills even when he's going through a rough patch. In fact, that's what gets him out of those rough patches. You don't even have to go that far back. In 2021, McIlroy's golf was suffering. He wasn't winning trophies and his performances were underwhelming.
It's super lush today. It's hard. It's like because.
But even then, ahead of the CJ Cup, he sounded very confident. When he was asked about his form, he said he knew he was the best player in the world. Yup, he said if he plays at his 100%, he knows no one can defeat him. He admitted he wasn't playing at the top of his game, but he was also sure his form would return. No big deal. And it did return, and he proceeded to win that CJ Cup. Fast forward to 2022, it was the CJ Cup victory that took him to the #1 spot again. How poetic, but a lot more went into making him the best as well. He takes his goals seriously.
I played a little bit better today, especially on the back nine. I took advantage of some of the.
Rory entered 2022 with one goal: to prove himself to the world after a phase of inconsistent performances. And he didn't get there right away. In a way, he didn't even get what he wanted so much: a 5th major title. He came close twice, but faced frustrating losses both times. First at the Masters and then at the Open Championship.
You know, all of a sudden you got a pretty testing golf course. So,
But he did what the winners of both those majors couldn't. He became the world's best golfer. This is because the #1 spot was what he wanted most. That was his main goal, and that was what he focused on. He seized every little opportunity he could to get there. Because when it comes to Rory, no win is more important than the other as long as it helps you reach your goal. In 2022, he didn't let the major losses distract him from his goal. He never let defeat distract him. But what helps him do that? He calls it grit. If you want to be successful, you've got to have grit, says Rory McIlroy.
Such a benign day as well. It's not. I mean, it's a perfect day to play golf. Like, not much breeze.
But what does that mean when he says that? Well, the 4-time major champion believes it means a lot of things at once. It's the courage to bounce back when you've fallen down, the stubbornness an athlete must have if he or she wants to make it big, but also the patience to play without winning and the discipline to keep practicing no matter what. I'd say Rory has got a lot of grit, wouldn't you?
And today, I hit a lot of fairways starting out, hit a lot of greens, give myself a lot of birdie chances.
Anyway, those were some of the important qualities that made him so successful. See you in the next video.
Well, that left for 4 birdies in the first 5